Dude, I thought we were going to hear the Snap Crackle Pop song. I love that song. Anyway, welcome to the Thursday Checkdown. It's a weekly show designed to help you win your leagues, okay? But before we get into the Thursday Checkdown, I want to tell everybody how I did in the Bull Rush $100,000 NFL Survivor Contest. Now, I'm in this contest. What they do is every week they give me $100,000 fictional dollars to wager with, okay? I don't know squat about betting. Really don't. They've got an app. It's easy to use. And each week, if I'm in the top 80% of participants, I get to go to the next week. And after week 12, we start winning real money. Now, the people at Bull Rush, Trent and Davin, good people. All right. I trust them. They're very good people. And if I win money, since I refuse to gamble, they are going to donate it to hospice care for cancer patients, which I think is really cool. And they've even agreed to make the donation in the name of the sports affiliation. So our producers behind the scene, Iggy and JC, can get a tax write-off for that donation. So you guys should be pulling for me to win the big prize, which is 50 grand. 50 grand. If I win the big prize, goes to hospice care. Plus, they get a pretty nice tax write-off at the end of the year. So how did I do last week? Well, last week sucked for me. I was 5-9 in straight pickups. So, I didn't do very good in the bets. But my parlays were better. Overall, 139 contestants, I'm 47th. So it's time for me to pick it up. I need to get better. Still in the top 80%, though, so I'm moving on. If you're into sports wagering, take some time. I got two things to say. First, gamble responsibly. Don't use your kids' lunch money to gamble, all right? And second, check out bullrush.com. They're really good people. They really are. So let's get to the show tonight. Our first segment, Rick, what is it?
Well, it should be Pros and Joes, correct?
It is Pros and Joes. And do you know who our pro is tonight?
I do, because I'm wearing the right shirt for it tonight, too.
All right. It is the incomparable Mr. Bob Lung. Now, Bob, he has been publishing, here he comes, he has been publishing, you could say he wrote the book on fantasy consistency. How long have you been publishing your consistency guide, Bob?
Actually, this was the 10th season.
Okay, yeah. 10 years, you've been able to go out on Amazon and purchase his consistency guide. And what a lot of people don't know is he's also the godfather, the father, the designer of the Fantasy Football Expo. Show that shirt again. Show that shirt again, Rick. Show it. Show it. There you go. The Fantasy Football Expo. It's actually in July this year instead of August, which makes it easier for people with kids to attend. Bob, I know you can't tell us a lot about it, but why should people that are players and not content creators go? Is it just for content creators, or is it for anybody that's into fantasy?
Anybody who's into fantasy. If you play, I always say I have two questions. Have you ever been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And the answer is no. And you play fantasy football, there's no reason you should not be attending this event. It is in Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Everything is real close. All the events are very close to the Hall of Fame, if not at the Hall of Fame. It's very inexpensive for the weekend, $75, $95, somewhere in there. And you can hang out with Greg Kellogg, Rick, everybody, and all the biggest names: Howard Bender, Andy Behrens, Marcus Grant, Michael Florio, Jeff Mans, Jeff Radcliffe,
JJ Zachariason,
JJ Zachariason, all
Bob Harris, my favorite analyst
Bob
of all
Harris,
time.
yeah,
Mr. Scott Long, Scott Long
there,
and
or
Mr.
Scott
Fish.
or Bob.
No, that's a joke between Bob and I. We know it's Bob Lung.
But
Scott,
it's a good time.
Scott Fish is there. And if you don't know who Scott Fish is, Google the Scott Fish Bowl. Because, Bob, you sent out a newsletter this week that talked about the Scott Fish Bowl. Got me thinking. So I went out and looked at my compatriots, and I rank higher than they do in Scott Fish Bowl rankings.
Probably higher. Are you higher than me? Probably. I don't know.
I'm 1229 I'm 8-2 and 12-29.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
That's fine.
yeah, and I think there's over 5,000 teams this year.
What's up, Pete?
Yeah, God, and it's
Yeah.
worldwide. But it's not just Bob here tonight. We've got a Joe. What we do with this segment is we pit a pro versus a Joe versus the host to choose a sleeper and a bust for the upcoming games this weekend. So we're each going to choose one quarterback or tight end that's outside the top 12 and one running back or wide receiver, or one running back or wide receiver that's outside the top 24 as a sleeper, and one that's in as a bust. And then we're going to keep track all year. But our Joe this week is Troy Barnes. Troy, how you doing today?
All right, Troy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I've attended the expo the last 3 years as a fan, and I just love it, talking to all the people in the fantasy football industry. It's a great time, great event.
All right. Well, can people find your writings anywhere, your work? I know we can talk to you on Twitter or X.
So previously, I've been working in the e-commerce industry, really helping companies sell products on Amazon and on their own website. And so I haven't started fantasy football content creation yet. I'm looking to do that probably next year is my plan. So, but nothing yet for me.
Hence why you're a Joe this year. Next year you'll be a pro.
That's
so.
Cool.
Just so everybody knows, our pros and our Joes are tied 4-4. All right, 4-4, and our hosts lead our pros and Joes 11-8. So Rick and we're smashing the pros and Joes, and we're going to see we're going to see if we can keep this going. So I want to ask you guys, Bob, you're first. Who you got as your sleeper?
So my sleeper and definite sit this week is one Khalil Shakir. Not a lot of people realize that this guy's having a pretty solid year. In what? Consistency. I know, shocking. 28th in total points. So it doesn't look like he's having a great year. He's wide receiver 3, but he's 80% consistent, which ties in with people like Chris Olave, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, Cortland Sutton. So he's right up there. And then this week, you got them playing at at Atlanta. Indoor game. Should be, a good game. Should be a lot of passing. Atlanta's really, I think they're number 1 against running backs. So this game is going to be, I think, a lot of offense, a lot of passing. And so I am definitely starting Khalil Shakir this week because he wasn't on your list.
Yeah, he's outside of the top 24 wide receivers. Troy, who do you have?
So for me, I have Rachaad White. So Bucky Irving didn't play last week, and Rachaad White ended up getting over 23 fantasy points, finished 7th overall. Bucky Irving did not practice Wednesday of this week, did not practice again Thursday of this week. Looks like he's not going to play. So I expect Rachaad White to be a top 15 overall play. Last week, Rachaad White had over 80% of the snaps, 80% of the carries. Sean Tucker did not split the role with him. So I expect that to continue. So Rachaad White is my sleeper play for this week.
Great pick.
Rick, what do you got going?
Well, I'm going to, first of all, admit that I've made a number of mistakes the last couple of weeks. I've gone running back first with Tootin, then I went with Benson, then I went with Woody Marks. So I am not going to do a running back ever again. And instead, my sleeper is Bryce Young, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And really the primary reason, he's going against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys are by far the worst defense against quarterbacks. Last week, Justin Fields went 32 for 46, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. And last week, Young actually did pretty decent. He went 19 for 30 with 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception going against Miami. And Miami's the 3rd worst defense against quarterbacks, so maybe get so excited. But still, yeah, anyone's going up against Dallas, I'm playing them. So Bryce Young's my sleeper of the week.
Well, and you have to know that I love your sleeper pick because my sleeper is the wide receiver 25 in our rankings right now, straight PPR rankings. Teteroa McMillan. He hates the term T-Mac, but that's too bad. I'm calling him. Hey, First, I'm amazed that he is not in the top 24. I really am. The kid's gotten, I think, at least 8 targets in every game this year. Now, I know 4.5 is not a blazing fast 40, but when you're 6'5" and 215, it's pretty damn quick. I mean, and that's what McMillan runs, okay? I just think he's going to get 8 targets at least against Dallas. Dallas has given up a lot of fantasy points to the X receivers. They're letting the X get deep. That's T-Mac. I can envision a 6 for 70 with 1 touchdown. Now, the 1 touchdown's a stretch because he hasn't scored this year, but if anybody's due, it's T-Mac. Next, though, we've got to talk about our busts. Bob, what you got going?
So I am going to change. I'm going to stay on the same team as my original pick, but I'm going to change the position. So I had thought about Zay Flowers, but he's the only one on the team to throw to, and I expect him to throw a lot. So I'm going to switch gears and go to Mr. Derrick Henry, and I love Derrick Henry. He is one of my favorite players and was definitely part of my winning teams last year. But, man, ever since the beginning of the season, outside of week 1 when he went completely off, he has not even exceeded more than 50 yards in 4 games. Last week, he actually had a touchdown and still didn't earn a clutch game because you got to go over 10 points in fantasy in a PPR for running backs. He had 9.3 because he had 33 yards rushing and a touchdown. This week, he goes against the Rams, who are 3rd toughest in fantasy points against running backs, which is pretty much right beside where Cleveland is. And against Cleveland, he had, 23 yards rushing, something like that. He has not been himself. The offensive line's a mess. They don't have Lamar Jackson back there. The defense is a mess. They're behind a lot, so he's not getting the chance to grind it out. I'm going to sit. I know you don't sit your studs, but I'm not sure Derrick Henry now is a stud. I'm going to sit Derrick Henry.
How about you, Troy?
So my sit for this week is Juwan Johnson. So he was the top fantasy tight end in week 1. Over the last 2 weeks, he's scored under 6 fantasy points, been outside the top 25 in tight ends. And then last week, Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau both came back from injury. So I expect them to take snaps and targets for him. So Juwan Johnson is a definite bench for me.
Rick?
Well, I kind of mentioned the guy's name, Justin Fields, New York Jets quarterback. Last week, he did have that big game. Of course, he was going against the Cowboys. This week, he plays a slightly better defense, and that's the Denver Broncos. And they're playing in London. Garrett Wilson's going to be stuck on Certain Island. Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, and Alex Singleton are going to be plenty busy to keep Fields in check. I just don't think there's going to be enough chance at garbage time points for him against this scary defense.
Okay, well, for me, I know about Alvin Kamara's ankle. He tweaked it, but according to reports, it's not serious. It was Wednesday's practice. He's got time to come back. That's not why I'm picking Kamara as my bust this week. The reason I'm picking Kamara as my bust is a guy named Kendre Miller. Miller's getting more and more touches each week, and last week he just outcarried Kamara 10-8 in the run game. He's been more effective. That much is true as a runner with a higher yards per carry. And he's one of the league's top backs after contact and offers a strong short yardage and physical running style. So I'm sitting Alvin Kamara this week. But I got to ask our producer something. Iggy, what time is it? That's right. It's AI time. And no, it's actually news and notes time. Okay, so Troy, you're welcome to stay or go as you wish. Bob has agreed to stick around for the entire hour, so he'll be hanging out for the mailbag section. But right now, this is Rick's turn to shine. Rick, what do you got?
Well, yeah, and boy, I tell you, week after week, I'm getting really depressed giving all the injury news, and there has been just a ton of injuries already in this first 6 weeks of the season. But I'll start off with relatively good news. Joe Flacco, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback. And yeah, that's Cincinnati Bengals quarterback. The Bengals acquired Flacco in a trade. And and he's already been announced to take over as the starting quarterback. The question is, will this help bump Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and maybe even more so Chase Brown? Because Flacco's more of a quarterback that passes to his running backs. Another new quarterback. Well, he actually played last week too, and that's Cooper Rush. Looks like he's going to be starting for the Ravens again this week. Lamar Jackson hasn't started yet. Rush had 14 for 20, 179 yards, but he had 3 interceptions. But they were going against a tough defense. The bad news is they're playing another tough defense against the Rams. Another good news from at least a new quarterback point of view, Mac Jones is again going to be replacing Brock Purdy, who's still out with his toe injury. Jones had a really good game. He was 33 for 49, and 342 yards with 2 touchdowns against the Rams. Looks like it's going to be a shootout against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So fast-playing offenses, both sides. That should be a real fun one to watch. Kyler Murray looks like he's missed a couple of practices due to a foot injury. If he isn't able to play, Jacoby Brissett will be the replacement against the Indianapolis Colts. Moving on to running backs, Antonio Gibson, he's out with a torn ACL. He's out for the season. He was primarily a depth running back, but he really actually was more effective as a kick returner. So look for more use by Stevenson and Henderson, and it looks like Henderson might also be taking over the kick return duties. Marion Hampton also is out with an injured ankle that placed him on the IR, so he's at least out for 4 games. The backups, and everybody's been racing to the waiver wires to get either Hassan Haskins or Kamani Vidal. The right answer to that running back question might be neither, so we'll see. Bucky Irving.
Hey, wait a minute. You told me something earlier in the week. You heard a rumor about Gus the Bus.
Well, it hasn't happened yet. I was racing to get in a very deep league that I'm in. It's almost impossible to find running backs. So I took a shot and I added Gus Edwards. Hasn't been added yet, so it may have been just a shot in the dark that isn't good enough. But still, yeah. Bucky Irving, he's out with an ankle foot injury. Kind of weird thing with Bucky Irving is that they decided they would go out and get a second opinion. So they haven't put him on IR, and he isn't designated out. But I would probably expect it to be Rashad's going to be taking over the running back duty. And he did pretty well last week. So he was like 41 yards with a touchdown. He also, I think, had a touchdown as a receiver. Sean Tucker hardly got any use at all. Darius Slayton, he's out from the New York Giants as a wide receiver, hamstring injury. Week 6 is in doubt, so focus more on Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, and undrafted Bo Collins.
Our pro last week actually pumped up Jalen Hyatt, and he may have just been a week early. Yeah,
because he was 0-0-0 across the board.
Yes, he did.
But I think most people are excited about Theo Johnson, tight end for the Giants. And so I know a lot of folks, including the league that I'm in, were rushing out to the waivers to pick him up.
Yeah, I think you told me that Theo had a personal connection with Jackson Dart, right? Aren't they friends or something?
Actually, it wasn't me, but they did seem to have good chemistry. He was 6 for 33, but 2 touchdowns. So, again, if you're getting that from your tight end, you are super happy.
Yeah.
couple guys coming back from injuries, or at least designated to return from IR. Christian Watson from the Packers and Jalen Coker for the Panthers. Both of them are really good wide receivers. And I think people are especially excited because Jalen Coker had a really good rookie season last year. And so that should really add to the Panthers' passing attack.
Yeah, before you go on, let me switch over to our consistency expert here. Jalen Coker, you know a little bit about him. Will he be able to come in right away and perform, or is he going to need ramp-up time, in your opinion, Bob?
I mean, anytime you bring in a youngster that hasn't really played a whole scenario, or at least a number of games, it's going to be a little rough. The good thing is that with McMillan on the other side, that allows teams to, they're going to be focused more on him, which allows Coker some more one-on-ones. So I would think, maybe not his first week, but, I could see them slowly moving him in that direction. I mean, certainly if you have a deep bench, Coker's a guy you might want to, grab and stash to see later down the road. He could be a great fantasy playoff guy that, especially if McMillan gets hurt. But he could benefit as, again, the Carolina Panthers most of the time are playing from behind. So garbage time still counts. So we'll take it.
Definitely. We go to tight end now. We got Brock Bowers. He's still out and thought to be week to week. The good news, though, is Michael Mayer's cleared concussion protocol. And I know I rushed out there to grab a share of Michael Mayer. So, again, that might be a good clue for everyone to check to see if he's available on waivers. Brenton Strange also out. He injured his hip, and he's been placed on the IR. There's two replacements in Jacksonville. Hunter Long, more of a receiver type of tight end. Johnny Munt, I think more known for pass blocking or for blocking. And then Quentin Morris, who's a wild card. I think most people are taking a shot at Hunter Long if they need a tight end.
Troy, would you take any of those, or would you look somewhere else?
I mean, so me personally, I had Brenton Strange. I did not take either one of those. I ended up going to the waiver wire. I was able to get Mason Taylor, so that's who I'm looking at. I think he's a good pick, but I definitely look at waiver wire. Even Chig has a decent matchup against the Raiders this week. He struggled, but this is Titans have played some tough defenses. Maybe he gets off this week. So I'd probably look somewhere else personally.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick.
And Mason Taylor and Theo Johnson definitely would be much more attractive candidates. But if you're in deep leagues, and I'm in a 16 league IDP league, I tell you, I'm going after Gus Edwards as a running back. I would definitely take a shot at Hunter Long in some of those deep leagues. And then lastly, we had a kicker that was injured, Spencer Schrader, Indianapolis.
My kicker.
And he was the number one kicker in the league. They replaced him with former Charger Michael Badgley, and a pretty good kicker, maybe not to the consistency of Schrader, but he has a strong leg. And again, you want to have a Colts kicker. They play inside. They have a pretty decent offense. So I would definitely at least consider Badgley if you're looking for a replacement. And we had a couple of injuries on the IDP side, but why don't we go ahead and just get us ready for the next segment, because I see Tipp in the green room.
Okay, so we're going to take Bob and Troy out, put them in the green room while we bring Tipp on, but as soon as that segment's over, we'll bring you guys back for the mailbag section.
Okay.
All right. So hey, I do believe this is the first time our news and notes has ended before the half hour. Very well done there, Rick. And we've got, as you said, from his car, because his daughter has another game, Mr. Tipp Major. Tipp presents the AI position. Now, just so you know, because we want to keep it fair, we compare Rick and I versus the AIs, but Tipp is tracking out he's doing against the AIs too. And so right now it's a tie. Rick and I are tied with the two AIs. That's not good, Rick.
I was one ahead, I think, last week, but I must have.
It's still early.
down
It's still
last-
early.
last
It's still early.
Tipp, how are you doing against the AI?
Next question, Bob. Next question, Greg.
All right. Well, why don't we start off every week, to set this thing up a little bit. Every week, we're going to take a tight end, a wide receiver, and a running back they score approximately the same number of points. This week's, I think there's less than 2 points between them, 1.9 points between the top and the bottom guy over 5 weeks. Now, some of that could be because of injuries. Some of that could be because of usage. I don't care. They're within 2 points of each other. And so we ask the AIs, we have a flex position. Which one are you going to start? Tell us why. And Tipp tells us what the AIs say. And Tipp, if he keeps winning, you're going to have to change his name from Sir Whittington back to Sir Winnington.
I'm not doing it because he's not going to win. It's not over. It's week 6. We're right in the middle of the season from a fantasy aspect. So I'm coming for him this week. So let's get into what Sir Whittington said. So Sir Whittington said,
well, first tell us who the players are.
Yeah, the players are Theo Johnson from the New York Giants, who's playing tonight in just a little over an hour or less than an hour. And then we have Kareem Hunt. And then the third one I thought was interesting was Cooper Kupp.
Now,
so those are the 3 players that we're going against.
Theo Johnson has the lowest number of points in this competition.
Yeah, but for how long? For how long? And I heard you talking about him, Rick, and I'm gonna talk to him about it a little bit more, but I'm gonna get into what Sir Whittington said. Sir Whittington has Theo Johnson ranked number 1, and they're going off of the last 2 games. The last 2 games, 3 touchdowns. Hey, they said that there is a connection there. We'll talk a little bit more about that connection in a moment, and so he really, really, really likes Theo Johnson. He's been going hard on the tight ends the last couple of weeks too. Second, he's got Kareem Hunt. And what he said about Kareem Hunt is he said that the offense boosts part of a high-scoring offense. I'm not going to say high-scoring offense, but an offense that we know can put up points when they need to. And so, look, he has Kareem Hunt. That is number 2. Number 3, he's got Cooper Kupp, and he said no touchdowns through 5 weeks. 5 weeks, guys. Cooper Kupp used to be a touchdown machine. Now, we know he's a little older, and I see Scott the King angled in there. And look, I know he's a Seahawks guy, but look, man, Cooper Kupp is a shell of himself. He still can put up some decent numbers, but he hasn't been in the end zone. So he's got him ranked number 3. Grog, our number 2, Krog, excuse me, our number 2 AI, he has Kareem Hunt rated number 1, and what he says is that he faces a weakened Jacksonville front. Now, remember, Jacksonville has a really good back end of the defense. They have a really good front defense as well, so I'm not sure where he's getting at because I think that they're opportunistic and that he could he did some work against them last week. He got that touchdown, and that this week, going against the guys, help me out. Huh? The Lions, he's going against the Lions. Lions are a good defense as well. He thinks that there's going to be a lot of points in that game. So having a lot of points in that game is going to allow Kareem Hunt, who they're using in the goal line, to get that. So he has him ranked number 1. Number 2, he has Theo Johnson. Said, yes, he's a red zone target. Yes, he's had 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games. But this is what he's concerned about. He's concerned about his yardage. His yardage is at a floor, and his yardage, he doesn't get high yardage. He gets low production from that part of the field. So he's concerned about that. That's why he has him at number 2. And then number 3, he has Cooper Kupp. No red zone targets. No deep targets. He's a wide receiver 4. I thought that, look, Cooper Kupp could sneak into a wide receiver 3 situation with it playing on this team. But look, it's a Jackson Smith and Jigba show. It's the running back show. It's Horton. Can we talk about Torrey Horton as well? He's getting some looks down the field. So, look, there's just a lot of concern from Cooper Kupp. Now, when it comes to me, guys, look, I usually don't pick my tight ends first. I usually don't do it. And I didn't do it this week either. I picked Kareem Hunt because I think it's going to be one of the higher scoring games this week. Look at some of the games that Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes has played.
Yes, be gone, Satan, be gone.
Last year, they had a 21-20 upset. But if you go back to 2018, these two players scored over 105 points on the field. So I think under the bright lights, they're going to be scoring some points again. And Kareem Hunt's going to have a really good opportunity to get in the end zone, not once, but maybe multiple times. So I got Kareem Hunt. I know it's your defense. I know, Greg, they got a good running defense, but this is Patrick Mahomes. They're always going to be near the goal line, and opportunities are going to present themselves. So I got Kareem Hunt number 1. Theo Johnson, I got number 2. And I would have had Theo Johnson higher on this list if he wasn't playing those Philly Eagles, guys. Those Philly Eagles are tough, especially against tight end. They give up the 4th fewest points to the tight end right now in fantasy. I understand the connection, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Rick, you're right. There is a connection between Jackson Dart and Theo Johnson. They are becoming really close friends, and you see it on the field. Can that be overcome? Absolutely, it can be overcome against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I tend to think anytime you have a old defensive guru like a guy like Vic Fangio, and he's going against a rookie, I tend to lean the other way. I steer away from those rookies because even though they can show they got these great stats and everything like that, they sometimes get confused against these old curmudgeon-y defensive guys. So I think Vic Fangio is going to have something for Jackson Dart. And then bringing up the rear is Cooper Kupp, guys. Again, a shell of himself. But this is what I'm talking about. It's a run-heavy offense. Cooper Kupp is a willing blocker. He is helping with some of these running backs getting those points. Unfortunately, guys, unless there's some leagues out there where your players can get points for blocking, there is no such thing. Maybe Scott Fish should do something like that next year for his league. But there's no points for getting for blocking and for helping spring open lanes for your running back. So with Cooper Kupp, man, I just think he's not a part of the offense that's going to be beneficial for fantasy. So that's why he's number 3.
All right, it's your turn, Rick. What do you got?
Wow. Okay. So I raved about Theo, so I feel like I have to stick to my guns. I think that, I just think that and it might be because I'm less interested in the other 2 players, but I do think that there's a great chemistry building. I do agree with Tipp, though, that these smart defensive coaches, and I remember Belichick was also really good at taking out rookies and really good at identifying and taking out the best player on the other team's offense. But that said, I'm looking at the other options that the Giants have, and I'm not seeing much. I mean, Wandell will get, he's a good PPR. He'll get his targets and he will get his catches. But I am looking for Theo Johnson to have another touchdown. So Cooper Kupp is my number 2. And it just will underline how much I don't like Kareem Hunt. But I do think Cooper Kupp has been, held back by, of course, the offense is built around, their number 1 wide receiver. And I also like Torrey. And I think that, they're running the ball a lot. But I do also think that Cooper Kupp is going to have at least 4 receptions for somewhere in the 40, 50-yard range. And that's going to get him over the top of what Kareem Hunt's going to do. The Lions running defense, they give up, 0.8 of a touchdown per game. They're only giving up 12 points, fantasy points to the running back position. I just don't see it being and of course, Pacheco's not doing anything either. I actually think that I would be more excited to see what Rashard Smith's able to do in that.
And Rick, I like the Brashard Smith, but the thing is, when they get to the goal line, which, I mean, you got to think in a game like this, there are going to be some goal line opportunities. they just trust Kareem Hunt, and he's the one getting those carries.
Yeah, but you're assuming they're going to get to the goal line area.
Oh, you're just saying that because you're a Lions fan. They're going to get towards the goal line.
Go on, Rick. Finish up.
And I also think that Kelsey is going to be, the primary target when they get to the goal line. So I don't think they're going to be trying to run the ball in. I think I would be looking for Kelsey for a touchdown. But that's my choices.
Okay.
I guess we open this up to anyone else.
No, I get to give mine too.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you don't. We're forfeiting yours, Greg.
For me, I'm going with the hot hand. Since Dart is installed as starter, Johnson's targets have been 5 and 7, going up. All right. With the injury to Slayton, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets 9 targets this week. Okay. What I'm thinking, I don't think he's probably going to get much over 50 yards if he gets 50 yards, but I can see a 5 for 50 with 1 touchdown, and that's 16 points in PPR, which will win this competition. All right. So I've got Theo as number 1. Kupp, he's just not as explosive as he used to be, but he's still getting a good target share. And that's important because targets are opportunities. 6 for 60 is what I'm looking for from him, but no touchdown. So 12 points is what I'm expecting from Kupp. Now, why Hunt is so low? I went out and I looked at the Kansas City offense. They're averaging 37 passes and 25 carries per game. That 25 carries per game includes all of the scrambles that Pat Mahomes does and the reverses that they do to the wide receivers. So they're actually averaging between 21 and 22 carries per game, but they're not splitting it between 1 or 2 people. They're splitting it between 3 people. Well, whether you like Rashard Smith or not, he's still getting on the field. He's still getting touches. And so Kareem Hunt just doesn't get enough to be consistent. He would have to score a touchdown. I think he's the least likely option to score a touchdown this week, to be honest. So he's last on my list. So that's it for our 2AI or not 2AI. We need to fit fair adieu, fair found, well, goodbye to Tipp. He's got to go watch his daughter kick some butt.
There it is. Peace, guys.
But we do have the mailbag coming up next, and we're going to bring Bob Lung back with Troy as soon as we start the mailbag. And welcome back, Bob. And now I'm not watching the chat, so we're going to start with our first mailbag question. And if there's something in the chat, Rick will pull it up or Iggy will pull it up and we'll get to you. But our first question I put in because I thought it was interesting. Everybody knows that San Diego, that the LA Chargers spread the ball around to their receivers. You don't really know week to week who's going to be the number 1 guy. I kind of think Quentin Johnson is the number 1 receiver there. But, any week it could be McConkey or it could be Keenan Allen. So Antonio Medina asked Lad McConkey or Keenan Allen for this week. Let's start with you, Bob. What do you think?
McConkey has come on a little bit last couple of weeks. Johnson has kind of actually went a little bit the other way. It's interesting enough that both Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen are 60% consistent, which of course McConkey is not. He's much farther down, and so Herbert is going to throw to the guy that gets open, but he just seems to have a soft place in his heart for his old-time friend Keenan Allen. And I think as long as Keenan Allen can run routes and get open and know where to go when Herbert's scrambling, it's going to be Keenan most of the time. And so if I had to pick, honestly, if I could start them both, I would do that because they're playing Miami and they could both have like 20 fantasy points each. But if I have to pick, I'm going to pick Keenan.
All right, Rick?
Yeah, this is a tough one because, who would have thought that Quentin Johnson would have been their wide receiver one when we went into the season? So I think, though, he's got a small injury. I don't know if he hasn't been ruled out, but I know that he was limited, I think, in practice. But Quentin Johnson also has the easiest of the three defensive backs he's going to face during the game with Miami. I kind of like Bob's answer. I like both Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey. I think one of the things that we're seeing is that Ladd's catch rate is a bit down this year from last. Was Ladd playing above his numbers last year? I guess we're going to see more through the year. I would say if I was ranking the three wide receivers, as long as Johnson's playing, I would go him first, then Keenan Allen, and then Ladd.
Troy?
Yeah, so for me, I'd look at how the last 5 weeks have gone for the Chargers, and right now Keenan Allen has outscored Ladd 4 of 5 weeks. So I would just go with the data and go ahead with Keenan Allen, even though Ladd may be more talented. Looks like Keenan Allen is getting more targets from Herbert, scoring more fantasy points.
All right. So I actually looked at the statistics for the 5 weeks, and McConkey has 34 targets, 21 catches, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown. Keenan Allen has 44 targets, 29 receptions, 289, and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, Allen exceeds McConkey in targets, receptions, yards, and TDs. The way Herbert spreads the ball around on any given Sunday, any of the wide receivers could be the lead, but it's clear he trusts Allen in the red zone, okay? Allen has 35 to 40% of the team's red zone targets, all right? That's pretty good target share, okay? He's the primary red zone option. McConkey has 16.7% share, but his slot role, because he does play the slot, limits him in the red zone. So I'm going Allen, and it's not particularly close for me. I've got to see more than 1 week out of McConkey before I want to start him, to be honest. Rick, is there anything out of the chat?
Actually, there were some questions. I wanted to ask a question, though, and it kind of relates to the Chargers, though. One of the big questions people were having was which running back to get. And but my question is more, are they going to, and I know Greg Roman's a running back coach, a running back focused coach, but are they going to pass more, do you think, with, losing both of their primary running backs and, with 3 great wide receivers and also a pretty decent tight end? Do you think that they're going to, tone down the running in the upcoming game? And that's a question to the group here.
Oh, to the group.
Yeah, I mean, is there a running back you're really that interested in?
I don't know if I'm interested in one or the other. I think they're pretty even. Both have strengths and weaknesses. One's a better pass catcher, one's a better runner. But in this game where they're playing Miami, which I kind of expect a shootout, I would kind of feel like there might be more passing in this game. It'll be more of the pass to open up the run versus run open up the pass, because they know they can pass and they pass the ball well. And like you said, they have 3 great receivers and a very good tight end in Arondé Gadsden. So I feel like I didn't go out to the waiver wire and pick any of them up. I just didn't feel like I could separate one or the other. I didn't want to spend the money like literally in some of the leagues, Kings Classic leagues, they both went for about $35 in each league.
Out of what budget? $1,000 budget?
$100. They spent 30 to 35 on both. Each, not combined, each. Yeah. So needless to say, I wouldn't have gotten them if I did bid on them, and I probably would maybe win $10, but not 30, 35. So, there's a lot of hope and reliance on them that I just don't feel comfortable putting either one out there this week. Now, again, it is Miami, who does stink against the run, but I don't know which one. You can.
Well, you got to go with the Michigan guy, buddy. You got to go with the Michigan
unless you're a
guy.
Michigan fan, and then we know who we're going to go with.
That's right. Although I will say that I picked up Vidal and not Haskins. But I really want Haskins to win the job and show what he can do. But I also want Corum to start getting more play time in the Rams, too, because I love those guys as college players. Rick, I did see a question from Scott Engel. What was that?
Yeah, the question about our thoughts on New England's defense. And, they're playing against
New England. They're New Orleans in New Orleans. I mean, you have to love that scenario. I mean, Spencer Rattler, there's a good chance maybe Kamara may not play.
But Rattler hasn't been terrible.
But
he hasn't turned the ball over a lot. Most defensive scoring requires turning the ball over or getting sacks. I mean, if your defensive scoring is a yards allowed, points allowed setup, then I would do New England. But if it's turnover based, I probably wouldn't. I'd stay away from New England in this game.
So my defense that I've been using in leagues, it was the Houston Texans, and they're on. So I had to go out and get another defense, and I went out and got the Las Vegas Raiders.
They're playing Tennessee, right?
Exactly.
I got them too. Same reason. Well, I look at who they're playing, because if a quarterback is prone to, I would have loved to gotten a defense against the Bengals, but they replaced turnover machine with old guy. So
old guy threw a lot of interceptions for Cleveland as well.
He didn't throw 8 in 3 games. He didn't throw 8 in 3 games.
Right. He's no Jake Browning, but
the Cincinnati offensive line is just as bad, if not worse, than the Cleveland offensive line. So
no, but I expect Flacco to read the defense faster than Browning did, and so be under less pressure. That's why I like Wentz in Minnesota. That Minnesota line's not that great, but the problem with JJ was he was getting killed before he could make the reads. Wentz makes the reads quicker, so he's getting the ball off. So the offense is more efficient with Wentz than with JJ. I think JJ is a much more talented quarterback than Carson Wentz, but he doesn't read the defenses fast enough yet. That's coming, but not yet.
Another defense I like in just for this week, but they've been pretty good so far the entire year, is the Indianapolis Colts. They're going against Arizona, and we don't know who's going to be the quarterback.
And it could be a backup quarterback because Kyler didn't practice on Wednesday.
Yeah, so that would be a defense. And, they actually have a pretty strong rush, that they, good linebackers, Zaire Franklin.
Yeah.
So that would have been a defense I would have looked at as well.
Okay, we got another question from our mailbag. Van O'Daniel, should I bench Derrick Henry? Oh, God, no. For Hassan Haskins.
No.
I'm going to answer this first. Because I'm the Michigan guy. Iggy, put us all in 4 corners, please. Put us back in 4 corners so that we're all equal on the panel, because the panel's going to be able to do it. I say no. I know Henry hasn't been ultra productive. Hell, he hasn't even been a little productive, to be honest, But he did get 10 to 20 carries and 1 to 4 targets. So we know he's going to get touches, all right? Yes, he has a tough game. But he's still the best offensive weapon on the Ravens, especially with Lamar Jackson now. So we don't know what kind of role Haskins is going to have. And if you don't know what kind of role you're going to have, Scott, who asked the previous question, has always said, when in doubt, go with a healthy player. All right. When in doubt, go with the guy that started a couple games so you know what his role is. You got to go, in my mind, with Derrick Henry. Let's go to Troy first this time.
Yes, I think you have to go with Henry as well, just because you don't know what Haskins or Vidal is going to do. I could see next week picking whatever Chargers running back leads them in fantasy points, targets, and carries. But for this week, you have to Henry because it's unknown. And if you look at the Cardinals last week, we didn't know if it was going to be Michael Carter or Amari DeMarcado, and DeMarcado barely played other than his fumble. So I think you have to go with Derrick Henry, who knows going to get the carries. Might get in the end zone this year against the Rams, which is supposed to be a potentially high-scoring game.
Bob?
Well, I had said earlier that you would sit Derrick Henry, but I didn't mean for Haskins. I meant like if you're trying to decide between like Derrick Henry and Ja'Cory Krusty Merritt. Okay, now it's okay, but not in this case.
Okay, Rick, you agree? Is it
that was a big no. I was crying.
Okay. From Mark Walters, Kendrick Bourne or Wan'Dale Robinson? I think this is a very interesting one. Troy, you go first.
Yeah, so this is a toss-up for me. Kendrick Bourne had a great week last week. Wan'Dale Robinson is the clear number one of the Giants. I will go with Wan'Dale Robinson just because he's number one of the Giants. He's been more consistent this year, so I think he has the opportunity to have more catches. Might not get in the end zone, but at least have more fantasy points.
You agree, Bob?
Nope. Wan'Dale Robinson,
Kendrick.
Jackson's dart has taken over, is 0 for 2 in clutch games. He has no consistency whatsoever, the Jackson dart. Kendrick Bourne obviously has a love affair with Mr. Mac Jones. And as long as Mac Jones is quarterbacking and basically Kendrick Bourne's the only player to throw to other than Tunges, I think I'm not saying he's going to go 10 for 142, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Bourne outscore Robinson this week.
How about you, Rick?
I completely agree with Bob. I think that Mac Jones and him obviously had a connection. It won't be 10 for 142, but he is their number one wide receiver, or number one. I was going to say receiver, but CMC is their number one receiver. But that all said, Tampa Bay's, I think, a bit easier to pass on. I know that's going to be a high-paced game. I think the two fast-paced offenses going at it. So I would just go with Bourne.
Okay, so I'm going to muddy the waters further because I'm going to agree with Troy. All right. Bourne was amazing last week, and chasing points is usually a very bad strategy. I agree with that. But Bourne has chemistry because he played with Mac Jones from 2017 to 2021, and the Bucs secondary ranks mid-pack versus wide receivers. Robinson has a favorable matchup. Billy allows the 6th most PPR points to wide receivers, and the loss of Slayton means he's going to get even more looks, but it also means he's going to get more defensive focus too. So let's not forget that. And everybody's right. We don't know what to expect from Dart. So, but I think it comes down to Jennings' availability. Juan Jennings. We don't know if Jennings is going to play or not. And if Jennings plays, he cuts into Bourne's touches quite a bit. Since you probably won't know before tonight's games, I'm going with Wan'Dale just because I don't know. If I knew Jennings wasn't going to play, then I would go with Bourne, but I don't know that, so I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson here.
Before we go to the next question, I have to bring this up because I found this the other night. Kendrick Bourne was started with the San Francisco 49ers for 4 years before he went to New England, because I thought he started with New England.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah.
Go back to that question that was up for Iggy.
Yeah.
It was for Bob.
Oh,
Favorite inconsistency pick for this week?
a guy you can stream for just 1 week. Oh, for just this week?
Yep.
Honestly, I would probably go with Mac Jones again, because Purdy's supposed to get back in week 7. And so, yeah, I think that's the call. Like somebody mentioned, I forget which one of you said, that Tampa Bay San Francisco game should be a shootout.
Okay.
Tampa Bay's not very good. They've given up the 5th most quarterback points. I think that'll be a shootout, and I would definitely stream Mac Jones for 1 more week, and then flip back to whoever you have if you're desperate because you've got like CJ Stroud or somebody like that off on a bye.
So we got 2 questions left from Mark Parks. We'll get to this one a little bit later. From Mark Parks, trust Justin Fields versus Denver this week, or go with Matthew Stafford versus the Ravens? I'm going to answer real quick. I'm going with Stafford. It's not even close for me. Okay. But Bob, I think you said you agree Stafford?
Absolutely.
Troy?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Stafford.
Rick?
Fields had two good games.
Fields was my bust of the week, and Stafford's got way better receivers with that.
And I have 2 paragraphs that I'm not reading to answer, but I did post it where I took the question from. So the guy that posed the question has it. He knows the answer. And I'm assuming there's another one. Let's get this last one from the mailbag, then we'll go back to the chat. From William Tackett, Terry McLaurin, questionable versus Chicago, or Stephon Diggs at New Orleans for this week and rest of season. Rick, you go first.
I like Diggs. I think that he's got a decent matchup against the Saints. May's due for a big game. And if McLaurin plays, and we don't know, even the rest of season, I think that Diggs is still the person I would choose. McLaurin just hasn't looked that good this year, and the Commanders seem to have more focus on Debo and Ertz. So I would still go with Diggs.
Okay, so McLaurin did not practice on Wednesday per his coach. That's concerning because players that don't practice on Wednesday often don't play on Sunday. So for this week, definitely Diggs. Diggs is much more explosive, in my opinion, than McLaurin is. And I think Diggs is ramping up where McLaurin just seems to be ramping down. Rest of season, I still lean Diggs. Bob?
Yeah, I'm with you guys both on Diggs. I think it's mostly because even if McLaurin comes back and plays healthy, he still has Debo Samuels and Luke McCaffrey and Zach Ertz and JCM coming out of the backfield. So there's a lot of targets in Washington. There's nothing but Stephon Diggs and sometimes Hunter Henry. That's it. So, yeah, as long as Diggs stays healthy, I think Diggs certainly walks away with that one.
Troy?
And I would agree with you guys as well. I would go Stephon Diggs as well. One of the things I like about Diggs and all the Patriots is their schedule coming up. They have Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons, Bucks, and Jets, Bengals, Giants. Lots of easy teams. It's one of the reasons I like their defense, but I like the Patriots a lot for the next 8 weeks.
Rick, do we have anything out of the chat?
Yeah, I was trying to see if that's a question. Yeah, the tight end premium PPR, 49er tight end. I'm guessing that's Haskins or Marvin Mims.
Okay, so I'm guessing that Seymour Butts is the questioner and that he wants, and yes, I got the joke. Bring it back up, Iggy. I need to be able to read it. He wants us, to me, a flex start here. And I think a lot of it depends on your scoring system, as always. I like to award points for return yards. In that case, I would go Mims here, and then Tongas, and then Haskins. Without return yards, I would probably go Tongas, Mims, and Haskins. Bob?
Yeah, I mean, being the fact that it's a tight end premium PPR, which means it's probably 1.5 points per catch, it's definitely Tongas for sure.
Okay. Troy?
I agree. With the tight end premium, I would go Tongas one more week. Kittle's supposed to be back next week, but not this week.
Rick?
And I'm just anxiously waiting for Kittle to come back. Tongas has looked good, though, in his place. So I would choose that as well.
Next question out of the chat. Is there another one?
I didn't see any others.
Okay. Then that's our show for tonight.
Thank you, guys.
And, we want to thank our guests. Not only did our pros and Joes do an excellent job in their segment, they stuck around for the whole show. We don't get that every week. Bob, you're a true professional. We love it. Troy, you going to the expo, right?
I am every year.
I'll see you there.
See you then.
Bob, I'll see you there.
Thanks,
And I hope to see our audience there as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott Engel. Love you, brother.
Yes, bye.
Iggy, you can close it.